Okay, we are live, but we shall let it breathe just for a moment here. Sorry, we're running a little bit behind today. We don't have our producers, so charge it to the game. But we do appreciate your patience, Broncos country. Welcome in. It is the Mile High Huddle podcast presented by yours truly and Zack Kelberman. I am yours truly, aka Chad Jensen. With me, my fellow football priest, the deputy editor, milehighhuddle.com, and the co-host of the Mile High Huddle show on 98.1 FM Mile High Sports Radio every single weekday from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. local time. Zack, what's good, bro?
I'm having a lot of fun doing the radio show with you, Chad. But like you said last week, getting on here and talking to our supporters and our followers and being on a podcast with y'all, you make it worth it. You make it seem like not work, and it's so fun. And I'm looking forward to this week in particular because Wednesday, guys, we're 2 days away. 49 days from week one, but 2 more days away from the first practice of Broncos training camp. We have walked the desert. We've been dehydrated. We've been on the verge of death, and we are safe, finally.
We're making it. We can see the promised land. We are a stone's throw away. And it's really cool, Zack, to see that, hey, it's not just fans, it's not just media, super stoked, geeked up, and hyper focused. Russell Wilson is right there with you, if not more so. He put out a tweet today. For those of you that follow Russ, you probably need no reminder from us, but check this out. Russ put this out today, and maybe I don't want to put too much meaning into it, Zack, but it's time, is what Russ said. And one of the things I love about Russell Wilson, as we've kind of gotten to know him as the Broncos quarterback here, is that he is unafraid to share his he's an ambitious person, and he is unafraid to share his lofty goals with everybody else. It's out in the open, Super Bowl or bust. And let me tell you, it's time. That is your quarterback, 9-time Pro Bowler, Russell Wilson, starting tomorrow. I mean, tomorrow is the check-in. So we're going to get some media availability. We're going to probably hear from Russ tomorrow. And then, of course, the activities on the field, Zack, start the next day.
It's just like the hype train has been building and building and building and running and running. And I can't recall on my time on the Broncos beat, training camp, preseason, regular season, that's been packed with more excitement and more anticipation than this year. And it's all because of the guy you just saw, number 3.
Sam Bam jumping in early with a super chat,
Thank
a
you,
very
Sam.
generous super chat. Love it, dude. Appreciate you so much, Sam Bam. He says, good evening, Chad, Zack, Scott, Dylan, and all those associated with running the MHH podcast and Broncos country. Out of curiosity, how many people are at work on a daily basis helping broadcast the MHH podcast? Go Broncos. It's a 3-man show. Well, it's a 4-man show if you count Dylan. Dylan helps out remotely in terms of moderating our chat. And, of course, he also writes articles. He's been doing that for, I don't know, a little over a month, Dylan, something like that, right? But, yeah, it's not as perhaps complex as it might seem. Thanks, Zack, to the, modern technology and whatnot. It's, and then unless you're running into situations like me where I moved the central command and for whatever reason, nothing changed. But in my new locale, I get these weird little camera lags and nothing. I talk to the StreamYard provider. I talk to my internet provider. There is no reason to believe I should have, like right now, it's a slight delay and it drives me nuts. But hopefully it's not too distracting for you guys. But yeah, it's really the host that you see on camera, all right, and the producer, which is Scott. That's what it takes to make these go.
Yeah, and when things get busy and y'all are just commenting and supering and just chatting away, that's where Scott comes into play. Why he's so clutch to wade through everything and pull up questions and have things prompted for us and keep us going on the right track. As the training camp and preseason gets going, Scott's services, Chad, will become all the more valuable to us.
Oh yeah, yes, indeed. He's off tonight. He's taking care of some family stuff, but that's going to happen when you are a family man. And you're responsible for being in a broadcast room this time of night every single day, 7 days a week. It's been since he's been the producer. Every once in a while, something's going to come up that's going to demand your presence, and that's what happened tonight. Gregory with a very, very generous super chat. 2 nights in a row, for us anyway, that he's been throwing down like a boss. Dude, seriously, Gregory, you're already bona fide super chat superstar status, but I want to hear some of your takes, dude. I love the support. Don't get me wrong. Thank you, bro. I mean, it helps keep the lights on, no doubt about it. But what do you want us to talk about, dude? Tell us some of the topics that are on your mind. That's part of what we're here to do is answer your questions because we are your football priests and you need the absolution. You need the answers to those burning Broncos questions. And so, Gregory, thank you, big dog. Very generous.
Yeah, Gregory, if you haven't heard it, if you're fairly new, Chad says it all the time. I'd like to echo it. We wouldn't be anything without y'all. We do this because of you. We do this for you, and you single-handedly, you and everybody else, helps keep the lights on around here, helps us keep the brand going and expanding and evolving and progressing forward. Greg, thank you so much for that. It's incredible. And like Chad said, if you have any comments, questions, considerations, or concerns, please let us know.
Golden Girl also jumping in with a super sticker. That's
Thank
a
you.
newer name. So welcome, Golden Girl. Really appreciate that. Thank you very much. Zach, we have some topics to get to, plus a couple of matters of business, but I want to broach the initial topic first and foremost. There has been buzz and rumors today, all right, according to, pardon me, something that Mike Kliss of 9 News had to say, that let me just put it this way, as straightforward as possible. Randy Gregory, the free agent 5-year, $70 million outside linebacker the Broncos signed in the spring, and the offensive tackle Billy Turner, the Broncos signed, are candidates to begin training camp on the physically unable to perform list. What do you know about that, and how worried should fans be?
Yeah, Tuesday when veterans and rookies report to training camp, the Broncos are probably going to make some procedural moves, as have a lot of teams around the NFL. The active PUP list is an injury list, but you can activate a player from that at any time. They're not out an extended period or at a certain amount of time. They can come off a day or a week. It doesn't matter. But these are the prime candidates, as Chad emphasized there. Nothing's official just yet. That might change tomorrow. We all know, though, Randy Gregory's status. He had shoulder surgery in March upon signing that $70 million contract with the Broncos. The goal for Randy Gregory, even Nathaniel Hackett has admitted, is week 1. It was never the preseason or training camp. It's always been week 1, so that's not surprising. Billy Turner, he has a knee injury that's lingered from last season. That's what kind of facilitated his release from Green Bay earlier this offseason. It flared up again, I believe, in OTAs and the offseason program, and the Broncos are keeping a safer but not sorrier approach with their potential starting right tackle. So again, even if these moves are made and Gregory and Turner or whoever else goes on that PUP list, it doesn't mean anything. It's not an overt cause for concern. It's a procedural formality that NFL teams like to employ this time of year.
It also gives them certain kind of covering of the butt protections if injuries end up hanging on or they don't turn the corner as expected in the recovery. And we'll talk more about that. We want to also hear what's on your guys' mind. But first, a couple of quick matters of business, starting with the presenting sponsor of tonight's live stream podcast, and that's Manscaped, because taking control of your grooming is important. And if you're experiencing an overgrown yard, Manscaped's products are so good, you're going to be showing pride in your new bush-free property. It's a fact that you will have the best kept area on the cul-de-sac. Save big and be the most hygienic version of yourself by using our discount code MHH for 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com.
Yeah, I hope you can see this, guys. I'm showing you the Crop Reviver. It's the toner that you use that Manscaped offers. We talk about the lawnmower and the weed whacker, but this is a really underrated product, I feel like, by the brand. It's summer. We're all sweating. It's getting hotter and hotter out there, and you have to kind of keep yourself freshened up, keep yourself feeling nice, smelling nice, and acting nice. And this Reviver, I can tell you firsthand, it allows me to do that after the gym, before a shower, sometimes after a shower, depending how hot it is outside. I cannot recommend this product highly enough, or the Manscaped brand highly enough.
Literally everything on this screen, with the exception of the cologne, I use on a daily basis. The Platinum Package 4.0, the lawnmower, the Ultra Premium Collection, all of it I use. And I think those of you who have heeded our calls to action and use the code, you're going, yeah, they make quality products. So go to manscaped.com, help support the advertisers that also help support this podcast, and use our code MHH at checkout at manscaped.com, and you will get 20% off plus free shipping. Code MHH, manscaped.com, 20% off plus free shipping. All right, Zach, one other matter of business that we're going to debut here in a second, but I want to come back to this Randy Gregory thing and Billy Turner, of course, too. Billy Turner, is it possible he was a lot more banged up and hurt than maybe reporting initially led on when he was signed? Because I'm going back through my mental Rolodex, and I'm having a hard time remembering that he was, for lack of a better term, kind of damaged goods when the Broncos signed him to a one-year deal. Maybe they didn't foresee it being as big of a deal as it obviously is if he can't open camp on the active roster.
Well, he was released by Green Bay with a failed physical designation. So he was literally damaged goods. He missed 4 regular season games because of that knee. He was limited in the postseason because of that knee. And now he's limited in training camp because of that knee. The Broncos and Nathaniel Hackett, especially, Chad, Justin Alton, the guys who signed off on this move, they came over from Green Bay with Billy Turner. Nathaniel Hackett was quite literally coaching Billy Turner last year, or at least in that room. So he has to know the status. It doesn't seem like it's, extremely bad, season-ending bad, but it's lingered beyond just a few months now, and it's affecting the Broncos' right tackle spot, or at least the competition at that spot.
Marcus Lewis Hanna from across the pond. Thank you, my friend, for the stars on Facebook. Means a lot to us. Just like Super Chats, helps keep the lights on here. He says, Wilson, let's see, hi all at MHH and Broncos fans. Love and respect from the UK. Cannot wait till we get rolling. Let's ride. Yes, indeed. Using Wilson's very catchphrase that he sent out to Broncos fans today. GLP, a.k.a. Gary Leeds Palmer, who we are looking forward to meeting in the flesh week 3 at the stadium this fall. It's going to be fun, dude. The MHH meet and greet. Gary says, hey, Chad, Zach, and Scott, so stoked for the training camp to begin. Now we will have a better idea of the lineup. Yes, indeed, my friend. Colby C. Collier wants to know thoughts on NFL Plus. I'm hyped about finally having Sunday ticket. Zach, what have you heard about NFL Plus? Because I received a press release from them today, and it sounds like it could be pretty cool. What have you heard?
See, I thought it wasn't Sunday ticket because it doesn't include out-of-market games. I believe it includes in-market games, highlights, Game Pass. I don't know about all 22. We've been begging the NFL for that for years now. But until there's an app, chat, or a service where you can watch whatever game you want from whatever year you want, whenever you want, for a certain amount of money per year, that's going to be the winner. This is a incremental improvement from Game Pass. I believe it's cheaper, but until they have that wide array of options for out-of-market viewers, it's not going to move the needle that much to me.
Far be it from us to give the NFL free media promotion here, but here's the landing page for the new NFL Plus. All right, it used to be called Game Pass. Now they're calling it NFL Plus. It says that your subscription gives you access to all the features of NFL Game Pass and more at $80 a year. Whatever your game day looks like, NFL Plus Premium has you covered. Looks like, so you get the NFL Game Pass, which is the film stuff, which when you see someone at MHH publish a film breakdown article, that's where we get that coach's film. NFL Plus Premium, it goes on to say full game replays across devices. Keyword there, Zach, replays, okay? Condensed game replays across devices, coach's film, live out-of-market preseason games, and then live game audio. So to be frank with you, Zach, I'm not sure what's different other than they rebranded the name. Like, seriously, like I'm looking here. This was last year. You had live game audio, live out of market preseason games. You had the coach's film for Game Pass, condensed game replays across devices, but after the fact, not live.
Let me tell you what's different. What sucks about this, I just remembered and you just pulled it up. It's only available on your phone and your tablet. You can't use it on a desktop computer or a laptop computer or a web browser, traditional one. I think that's cutting off a large segment of the demographic. Like you mentioned, people in the content creation business, journalists, writers, analysts who use their computers for film breakdown and film study. I'm with you. I don't see how it's that much better. It might be cheaper, but they're missing some crucial services in that package.
If that's true, I think it's almost a move to try and elbow out the media people that make GIFs, and because I don't know how you're going to do that from your phone, right? How are you going to make actual play GIFs screen captures, whatever, from your phone. I guess you can do that with iPhones, right? You can screen cap video. I'm not an Apple. I'm one of the great unwashed. I'm a Galaxy type of guy.
Yeah, he's green.
But that's right. I'm one of those guys. Travis Weber, Big T in the house. What's good, bro? He says, good evening. Not nervous about Gregory and Turner, but we have a decent depth chart. Yeah. So for those of you who listen to the Mile High Huddle show today, Zach and myself on Mile High Sports Radio, 98.1 FM. And by the way, guys, we put out all the links on how you can listen live if you're out of market, and also on demand after the fact. So check mine and Zach's Twitter for all that information so that you can make sure you are joining us, especially for those out of market. But Zach, one of the things that we talked about today on the show is that, is it a concern that they're starting Gregory on PUP on its face? Yes, it's a concern. All right. He just spent a bunch of money. He's a projected starter. You don't want to hear that. But based on what we knew about him, it doesn't come as a surprise. But even let's say, it casts doubt on his availability for the 2022 season. All right, let's just get past that for a second. Nick Bonito, this is going to give him more opportunities out of the gates. Zach, we talked about the biggest sleeper in the rush linebacker group. You've got Jonathan Cooper, you've got Malik Reed, the latter of whom is out to prove in a contract year. Hey, you just drafted a guy. You moved an off-ball linebacker to edge. You went out and paid a guy. I'm still here, and I'm battling y'all. I'm 2 years removed from leading this team in sacks. But the guy that is giving you and I the most, for lack of a better term, the tingly feeling is Baron Browning. Don't sleep on this guy. Although we have our reservations about the wisdom of moving him positions to 1 year into his career after he so obviously excelled in the first position, we're excited to see him. This dude's got some chops. Just ask Bradley Chubb.
The thing about Gregory, on its face, yeah, it's not the greatest news you want to hear about your big free agent pickup, but the Broncos agreed to the surgery that he had before he even put pen to paper. And it wasn't like he got hurt in the offseason and now he's on PUP. That would be a cause for concern. They knew this going in all along. And again, the goal is week 1. But even when you remove Randy Gregory from the equation, you have the players that you mentioned. Also, Chris Allen, the UDFA, who's kind of on the shelf right now as well. Baron Browning, to me, great hindsight, in retrospect, Chad. They didn't know about the injuries or the PUP list exactly at the time when Browning converted to outside linebacker, but you have him there now, and you have him as another chess piece in that Ejiro Evero defense. And if he can go back, Browning, to what he did in college at Ohio State off the edge, you might have something there. You might have a 5 to 6 sack guy.
Ben Wallman, thank you for the stars, brother, on Facebook. Seriously, we really appreciate it. Marcus saying, I am also looking forward to seeing how Nick Bonito does this season. Like you, Zach, I believe he will do well. Yes, indeed. And then Sam Bam jumping in with another super. Appreciate that, my dog. He says, my week 1 O-line prediction, barring injury. Left tackle Bowles, left guard Dalton Reisner, center Lloyd Cushenberry, right guard Quinn Miners, right tackle, he's talking week 1, Billy Turner. Your thoughts on this? And could you see Netani Muti or someone else steal a starting job? I could see it, Zach. I'm not projecting it. I'm not predicting it, because I do think, even though Dalton Reisner is under the gun, all right, and he's being challenged, and there's been rumors that the Broncos tried to move him during the draft, he's just not a guy that wilts in the face of challenge or obstacles or adversity, and I think he's going to step up. So left tackle, left guard, I think is going to look exactly the same as last year. I don't know about center, though. I think it's Cushenberry's job to lose, Zach, when you sift through what was said about him by coaches and Russell Wilson. And not just said, but like, he's the guy snapping when Russ has had these get-togethers, these throwing sessions. It's Cush out there doing that. But don't sleep on Graham Glasgow. If Graham Glasgow was entering camp like ready to go, like 100% healthy, which he's healthy-ish, but it's similar to like KJ, Zach, where they're going to like ease him into action, right? So that gives another edge to Cush. Miners, same thing. Like, he's pretty secure in right guard because Glasgow is not 100% out of the gates. But this does make me cast some doubt on our initial read on right tackle, Zach, because Billy Turner, if he's not getting healthy within the first 2-3 weeks of camp, I don't know, man. That might not. It might be too big of a hurdle to overcome if guys like Tom Compton and or Calvin Anderson in that interim step up to the plate and not only play well but bond with Russ.
I agree with everything Sam said there, his prediction. I agree with your analysis, Chad. One thing I want to add, though, unlike previous years, yeah, the starting five, if this is the starting five, it doesn't look entirely imposing, but for the first time in years, the Broncos have bona fide depth along the front five at different spots. And Tani Muti, Graham Glasgow, Wattenberg, who they drafted, the tackles that you mentioned, Chad. There's a lot of young players to like in the Broncos system, and hopefully under Butch Berry, the new OL coach, they succeed collectively.
Andrew Baker, another legendary figure in our community. He says, "What is up?" And then he says, "With all of Russ's sacks, was it his play or bad O-line? And do we have the best line he's had?" A couple of really good questions because Russell Wilson, he's an athletic quarterback. He can move. He scrambles a lot. There are people within the league, and by that I mean coaches, players, execs, who feel like he holds onto the ball too long, looking for that off schedule, big chunk play too much. And then that maybe exacerbated, Zach, some of the O-line issues that the Seahawks had in recent years. But I laid the majority of the blame for Russ's getting just slammed in Seattle at the feet of the GM, the John Schneider, and the coaching staff, and that just didn't give him the tools around him on the O-line specifically to keep him upright. So it's like chicken or the egg, which comes first? Does he run? Is he so quick to run, Zach, because pressure's getting through immediately, or he's terrified because that keeps happening consistently, or is it the other way around? I think it's more to do with the actual talent he had than Russ' penchant for trying to create off schedule.
Yes, the Seahawks tried with that Dwayne Brown trade, but it never really worked out in their favor. And by then, I think it was too late, and there was irreparable damage between both sides. To answer the question, it's a combination of both, in my opinion. The way Russell Wilson likes to play backyard football, break and contain, rolling outside the pocket, throwing against his body against the grain, that's going to lead to more hurries, more pressures, and unfortunately more sacks. And you might see that with the Broncos. So, like anything, there's no black or white answer. This answer is gray. It's going to be a case where an offensive lineman, maybe Billy Turner, in this case, gets beat off the edge and Russell Wilson gets sacked. Or there's going to be a case where it's a play action, boot, rollout, whatever, and Russell Wilson tries to extend the play and just can't do it, and he goes down. So it's a combination. Like anything, it's give and take. As long as you find the right balance, you can afford those negative chunk plays.
We're going to come right back to the chat. We see some of these active questions. We love seeing it, but we got to bring your attention to some cool stuff, some cool developments at the merch store. All right. We've brought someone in to help us with our merch store with designs and just keeping things fresh and moving for you guys because, the merch store exists only because you guys demanded it exist. We did not have a merch store when we first started streaming, and 4 or 5, maybe 6 months in, Zach, credit to Zach, got it launched, our initial store, just because you guys were demanding merch, and we got it up, but it was, it was very rudimentary in terms of neither Zach or I we're not graphic design people. We're analysts and writers and podcasters, and we're not like internet engineer guys. And so we've found someone to help us with all those things that we're not. And he's got some new designs. All right, the Mile High Huddle podcast design with you've got the Bronco in orange, you got the microphone, you got the Mile High Huddle podcast. These are all new designs on the merch store. How do you get there? Easy to find, guys. I'm going to put it in the chat right now. HuddleUpPod.com, same as it's always been. All right, but this is another way, especially with things kicking off here and the season getting going. This is just when you buy a piece of merch, all right, it's just as meaningful and supportive to us as a super chat or stars on Facebook. It's another way to help keep the lights on. And you also get a little something in exchange, right? You get a little design, you got your team colors. What's cool about any of these designs, as you can see, is you can throw it on any color shirt that you want. It's pretty cool. So go to huddleuppod.com and sift through some of the new designs. Tell us what you think. The other thing here, guys, is when you buy your shirts or your hoodie or your hat or whatever it might be, once you get that in the mail, as you know, we want your DMs. Send us pictures of you in the swag, and we'll put it on our social media. 100,000+ on Facebook. We're building it on Instagram, our Twitter following, YouTube. We want to flex you guys when you support us like that and give you guys individual little shout outs. And so don't forget that when you get your stuff, send it in to us because we want to show it to you. HuddleUpPod.com. And we're going to be having new designs, new logos that we'll feature at minimum of once a month, but probably that we feature once every couple of weeks to keep things going. And it's for you guys. It's to give you guys something new, something different instead of the same old designs. All right. Like this hat is one of the newer things that you can get on the merch store. Get yourself one, just like the one Zach's worn. All right.
Sorry, I was trying to find my credit card. Order that merch.
That's right.
Get it, guys.
That's right. Hey, we got Phil McLaughlin jumping in. Appreciate the stars, big dog. He says, I'm on the run. Just sending some love. Appreciate that, brother. He says, go Broncos. Let's ride MHH for life.
Yes, sir.
Hey, dude. Means a lot to us. And you know this, man. Thanks, buddy. So, Zach, back to the topics here that are on everybody's mind. So, Billy Turner, Randy Gregory, solid candidates, we're just going to say, to start camp on the PUP list. Who benefits the most from, let's say, Randy Gregory landing on PUP to open camp?
Ooh, off the bat, I mean, who would the next man up in that scenario? So I'm going to assume it's Malik Reed, considering he's a veteran player in that room. He led the Broncos in sacks a few years ago. But behind Malik Reed is Nick Bonito, because of what opportunity would Bonito have with Chubb and Gregory fully healthy. I understand they're going to have packages where they have the NASCAR guys out there, all the pass rushers, and Bonito will play defensive snaps. But if Gregory is sidelined, that opens up a whole bunch of reps for Bonito. And when you're a rookie and when you're still raw, every single rep matters. Every single rep will make Bonito a better player. So I think ultimately, on a longer term scale, Bonito would benefit from Gregory's absence.
I agree 100%. You know, Bradley Chubb, another thing we talked about on today's show, is fully healthy entering training camp for the first time since, really. I mean, you could say his second year he was fully healthy entering camp because he got hurt in week 4, tore his ACL, etc. But like not licking any wounds. This is really the first time in the last few years, let's just say, that he's entering camp fully healthy. So that's one side of things. You're like, okay, they got that locked down. On the other side, though, Nick Bonito's a big beneficiary of the Randy Gregory PUP potential. Don't sleep on Baron Browning. I have a feeling. I mean, those two guys were not drafted when you look at the, Nick Bonito at the tail end of the second round, Baron Browning the year prior in the third round. I mean, these guys are comparable in terms of, their skill set, their traits, their value to the NFL. And I can't wait to see. I think it's going to be a race between those two guys, Zach, to fill the shoes of Randy Gregory if he does start things out on PUP.
Yeah, and we both kind of held the same opinion on Bonito. Regardless of his opportunity, he has to make hay with whatever snaps he's given. Being the Broncos' second-round pick, a high-round investment, and again, for a young player still growing, a guy who probably needs, in all honesty, a full year in an NFL conditioning program before he's ready to be a day one starter full-time, it's going to benefit him completely and entirely.
These spammers, dude, I've been going crazy on our channel. They've been blocked. So, guys, I hope you understand that as soon as we see it, either Zach, myself, or Dylan are going to block any of that gross spam. But, Zach, I'm seeing it even in our post stream, like the comments. I'm like half my day now is spent deleting spammers on our YouTube channel. So bear with us on that, guys. Travis, now we talked about who benefits on the rush linebacker side of things. If Gregory starts the training camp on PUP, who benefits the most at tackle? Is it Calvin Anderson? Is it Tom Compton? He's betting that Calvin Anderson is going to start. It sounds like Travis is at right tackle.
Probably, because I consider Calvin Anderson, and I wonder if the Broncos do as well, as more of a potential long-term developmental project than a guy like Tom Compton. Compton was signed to be the veteran insurance who can play tackle or guard. Wherever they need him to be, he can be. I wouldn't cry if Compton ends up starting because he's really good in run blocking. But yeah, I go with Calvin Anderson as well, and hopefully the Broncos continued investment in Calvin Anderson. He's been on the roster for 4 years now, since 2019. So hopefully that pays off this coming season.
By the way, I'm not going to flash this because it has keywords that would hurt us in the algo. But Jay's comment at 651 about the real identity of these spammers being disgruntled Seattle fans. Fire, dude. Sam Bam, thank you, bro. Appreciate you. Number 3 of tonight, dude.
Thank you, Sam.
Says, my week 1 quarterback prediction, barring injury, Russell Wilson. Your thoughts on this? Do you think Rippon could steal a job? Of course, he's joking. But if you ask Zach, who was it? Bill Barnwell,
Yeah.
that listed Brett Rippon as a legitimate, it was a long shot, and he, acknowledged that, but legitimate MVP candidate for 2022. Like, the number of dominoes that would have to fall, Zach, in a specific way in order for that mathematically to be opened up as a possibility within this particular football universe is so slim, it's not even worth throwing it on the table. It was literally like quintessential off-season make-believe fantasy fodder.
Yeah, steal his starting job. If I'm Brett Rippon, I'm getting Russell Wilson's coffee every morning. I'm doing everything I can to claim a roster spot, let alone, be the starter. So yeah, Barnwell's kind of out there. We appreciate the humility and the humor on this podcast, Sam. But yeah, I think Russell Wilson, Chad, pretty much a lock to be under center in week 1. What do you think?
Yeah, I'd put some dollar bills on it. Lawrence, what up, dude? He says, what does everyone think about a Russ jersey on the new Colorado Green Rockies jerseys? Might be my next jersey. I haven't seen it. I'm not going to lie, but hey, dude, swag is swag. Let's see it. Zach?
It's going to be unpopular as always, but I'm not the one that really cares about jerseys, Chad. A lot of Broncos fans are making, all these statements about how they should have a white alternative helmet or a black alternative throwback helmet, whatever. I really don't care about that. They can play in pink tutus for all I care, as long as they win football games. And I happen to like the Broncos uniforms. I'm not one that hates on them or think they need a redesign by any means. The color combination they have, to me, is very clean, very neat.
Sounds like someone's been watching a little Ace Ventura lately, talking about football players in pink tutus, right?
Laces out, Dan.
Laces out, baby. GLP, has anyone done a comparison of Browning and Benito? Not in a film kind of way, but that's definitely a good idea. Maybe I'll suggest that to some of the film dudes like Eric or Lance or the other Zach Hicks I'll mention that to him. Might be worth looking at. But the problem is, Zach, we don't really have much NFL film of Baron Browning rushing the passer, because what snaps he did garner as a rookie were at off-ball linebacker. So he's playing in the inside, outside of the occasional blitz where Vic Fangio would have him, run after a quarterback. But it's not the same as exploding off the edge, in a 2-point stance and trying to beat your man to the cue. So we'll definitely file that away as something to look into. GLP, appreciate you, bro.
And of course, we have no NFL film on Benito as well. So these are 2 young guys still growing into those spots at the highest level, and hopefully it pays off for at least one of them.
All right, so I'm looking here. This is an interesting Marcus Lewis. Thank you, bro. Seriously, multiple stars tonight means a lot to us. That, big dog. Zach, there is a very fun and edifying read up at milehighhuddle.com right now, written by Bob Morris, titled Broncos Camp, Biggest Question Mark at Each Position Group. All right. And there's a few of these I want to get your take on. All right. So first and foremost, let's keep it top level and talk about the quarterback. How will, this writes Bob, Russell Wilson fare in Nathaniel Hackett's offense? What do you expect to see on this front, Zach?
A lot of air yardage and a lot of touchdowns. I don't know, like, people are speculating whether he could break passing records or Peyton Manning's record with the Broncos. I don't really see it coming that close, but I see 4,000 yards, 32 touchdowns for Russell Wilson in this offense with that supporting cast. A lot of success is what I envision.
Real quick, I'm going to piggyback off that, but I missed this. Golden Girl, she threw down a super sticker, and I missed the comment. She said, I'm a Russell Wilson fan. So happy for him to have landed in Denver, to be wanted, appreciated, and loved. I've been following your channel to learn Russell's supporting cast. Well, welcome, and thank you very much, Golden Girl. Trust, Broncos fans are even more excited that he landed here. But I think, when you get back to the topic here, Zach, of how will Wilson fare in Hackett's offense, I mean, we know that Hackett is going to use that zone blocking scheme to get defenses run ragged, right? Get them moving laterally. little play pass, little play fake, and then Russ loves going over the top, and so does Nathaniel Hackett. There will be some wrinkles to iron out. It's going to take a little time for he and Hackett to 100% be on the same page and sharing a brain. I mean, even if you go back to 2012 when Peyton Manning landed in Denver and they melded the Mike McCoy offense, which the year prior went from Kyle Orton offense, spread, 11 personnel, to the most prolific rushing offense in the league with Tim Tebow. Those guys are both gone. In comes Peyton. He melds the bones of his offense with Peyton's, and it wasn't fireworks out of the gates. The Broncos did win their first game with Peyton Manning, the season opener against the Pittsburgh Steelers that year. But, Zach, it took till the second half of that Monday Night Football game, whatever it was, week 6, I want to say. It might have been week 7. I don't remember when the bye was. But they only won 2 games out of their first 6-ish and then went on an 11-game tear. There were some wrinkles that had to be ironed out, and I expect that to happen between Russ and Nathaniel Hackett. The question to me, Zach, is just to what degree? Are they minor bumps in the road, or is this a new QB coach duo that really will be able to hit the ground running sooner than later?
That's a very valid concern to raise. And, I'll say the same thing I said on the radio today. The good thing is about the Broncos schedule, if they're going to iron out those kinks, it's going to happen early in the first half of the season. And the first half of the season is when the schedule is a little lighter than the second half. So if they're going to have any errors, bumps in the road, let it get smoothed out in the first 8 or 9 weeks and let them get on the same page for the second half of the season.
Bob also queries here, how are the running back touches going to be divvied up? We've kind of flogged that horse to death. Pun intended there. So let's move on to wide receiver and his question mark here, which is who emerges as the top receiving target? And as you can see pictured, Russell Wilson is not going to be lacking for options, from Cortland Sutton to Tim Patrick, Jerry Jeudy, KJ Hamler, which of course, we're just keeping it wide receivers on this topic, but you and I have kind of been pretty consistent on this front. But what's your answer here for people listening with us right now?
I think it's going to change. I mean, if you force me to answer right now, I'm going to say it's Cortland Sutton, considering he's the most all-around skilled receiver in the Broncos receiving core. Tim Patrick's a possession guy. Love him. Jerry Jeudy's unproven, and KJ Hamler's a speed guy. So if there's one guy, I think it'll be 14. But it could be a case where 1 week it's TP, 1 week it's Jeudy, 1 week it's Cortland Sutton. I think the wide receiver 1 title in Denver is going to be fluid, and no matter who Russell Wilson has a chemistry with, it's going to help the Broncos on any given week. So I'm going to say 14, Chad.
The law of averages will end up revealing the answer to this question, but what you want to see is not a quarterback trying to force it to one guy. As Zach just talked about, when it was Peyton Manning, Demaryius Thomas put up huge numbers. Eric Decker put up huge numbers. Julius Thomas put up huge numbers. Even Brandon Stokely put up huge numbers that one year he was in Denver with Peyton. Then you get to Wes Welker. It was find the open guy. It was find the mismatch. All right, find the matchup that is in your favor, and that's what the truly great quarterbacks do. And so, hey, if you're consistently pick one of the guys on the screen right now that you can see, if you're consistently creating mismatches with your route running or your size or just how you attack, surprise, surprise, guess what? Ball's going to come your way. I do think that when the dust finally settles on this season, of course, this is all health willing, but when the dust finally settles, I do think Cortland Sutton's going to kind of be viewed as his favorite target, to be frank. But Jerry Jeudy, I think, this is the year for Jerry Jeudy. I really do think, he was on a mind meld with Teddy Bridgewater last summer. Then he got hurt early. It's a far cry comparing Russell Wilson and Teddy Bridgewater. I think having this whole summer in the offseason working with Russ, this is Jerry Jeudy's year if he can stay healthy. And I know, Zach, that is a big if.
I mean, if you can't make hay with a 9-time Pro Bowler, Super Bowl champion, with the talent you're surrounded by, with Hackett calling the plays, then, there's questions and red flags raised about you legitimately. So I'm with you. I think Jerry Jeudy will have a make or break year. I think it'll be a make year. There's no excuse for him not to, as a matter of fact.
Savage Boy Kev, we always like to get at least one Twitch comment each and every stream when we can. And Savage Boy says, given the people, pardon me, that every team has now, do you guys think that the Broncos are the most complete team in the AFC West? Zach, we talked about Brendan Gross had an article and breaking down comparing the or ranking, I should say, each positional group offensively the Broncos have with all of the AFC West opponents. And go read that. It's up at milehighhuddle.com. He's got a defensive one that's coming out either tonight, I think, or in the morning. But what's your answer? Is this the most complete team now in the AFC West, the Denver Broncos, or are questions like that maybe putting the cart before the horse a little bit?
I mean, yeah, but what else are we going to do on July 25th? So
Word.
it's fun to speculate. I think it's going to come down to coaching. We all think Kansas City will take a step back, and we all know their offense is good, but they have major question marks on defense as far as I'm concerned. That title of most complete team in the West will come down to Denver and Los Angeles. And I'm not a big believer in Brandon Staley. I'm not as high on the Chargers as other people are. I don't think they're the second best team in the entire NFL. But they do, offense and defense, have a pretty complete overall roster that jumps out to you with name players. So we'll see whether Nathaniel Hackett or Brandon Staley come out on top, because whoever does is going to have the more complete team.
George Fox with some stars on Facebook. We really appreciate that, bro. Who do we think will be our starting defensive backs? I'm assuming that's a plural. Week 1, Denver Broncos for life, MHH for life. Zach, your answer.
I mean, at safety, it's Simmons and Kareem Jackson. I'd be surprised if Caden Stearns unseats K-Jack so early. At starting perimeter corners will be Patrick Surtain II and Ronald Darby, and your slot guy will be K'Wan Williams. That's pretty cut and dry.
727 Mill is back in the saddle. What's going on, Mill? Great to see you. We have missed you. Thanks for coming back, and thanks for the super chat, bro. It's great to see you. Albert Knoppers, another legend, with his self-made State of Being shirt in his profile pic, which we are figuring out how to put on our merch store here in the very near future. Albert, love you. You know this. He says, with all the extra training at Russ's place in San Diego, it should give the Broncos a head start on getting chemistry, which, Zach, that's one of the things, God bless him for it. As soon as, the ink wasn't even dry on the trade yet, and Russ was trying to get things worked out for throwing sessions with his new guys. And that's been a theme throughout the entire offseason, as late as or as far into the summer as last week. Russ was throwing with everybody, all of his new guys. That can't hurt. That's just additional steps toward the ultimate goal.
Listen, you guys can feel however you want about Russell Wilson. You can call him corny. You can call him lame. You can think he's not a top 5 guy or whatever at quarterback, but he eats, sleeps, and breathes football. And when you compare Russell Wilson to someone like Kyler Murray, who we talked about earlier today, Chad, it came out, it was reported via NFL Network.
Get this, dude. This.
Listen to this, guys. There was an addendum in Kyler Murray's $230 million contract that included well over $100 million in guarantees that he must have at least 4 hours of independent game study per week, not per day like Peyton Manning would do or another franchise quarterback, per week. So it's basically making the kid do their homework or else they don't get their toy at the end of the day. Thank God Russell Wilson is the Broncos quarterback and not someone like Kyler Murray.
It's literally a joke. It's a joke, man. As we talked about on the show today on 98.1 FM, Zach, I think that's a deal. Nothing against Kyler Murray, the player on the field. But when we talked to him at the Combine, whatever year that was, 2019, I want to say, talking to him, looking him in the eye, I sensed an alpha in the sense of I'm the coolest guy I know, but not an alpha in the sense of a leader and a guy who commands the room by virtue of his own expertise and all that. He kind of felt like a me guy. All right. And I think you get 3-4 years down the road, and this is going to be a contract people are going to look back on and laugh at how it affected the team in question. Zach, Lawrence says, if we really aren't kidding ourselves, we would also look at the effects HGH had on Peyton Manning. Don't get me wrong, he's my idol, but HGH helped Manning go hard or whatever he was taking. Here's the thing. Peyton Manning, a lot of that stuff is purported, all right? None of that. The HGH stuff, the human growth hormone stuff, all of that was unconfirmed. There's no definitive proof on that. Would I be surprised? A man that had 4 neck surgeries, we know he went to Europe for some kind of a treatment, this and that or the other. He had to overcome quite a lot. The NFL they could never lock him down on that. And the NFL is the type to do that if they really find, if the evidence is there, the NFL is not going to bury something like that. So I'm not convinced that happened, but I'm also not naive enough to just dismiss it out of hand because it's Peyton Manning.
God, training camp can't get here fast enough. I will say this, guys. It's a lot more prevalent than you might believe. And just because you get caught doesn't mean they're isolated incidents. And what I mean by that is like we all, not really comparing it, but I'm just saying we all speed, but only some of us get pulled over and punished for it. A lot of players are taking substances that are kind of shady or, cut up against the legal wire, but Peyton Manning allegedly, like Chad said, got caught for it and was criticized for it. But why we're talking about that in 2022? Not sure.
It's like the old saying, it's only wrong if you get caught. All right. That's not something you want to raise your kids on, right? As far as a philosophy. But oftentimes when it comes to powerful human beings, it holds true. All right, Zach, back to the actual matters at hand here. A couple more questions, and then we're going to dip on out of here. So, guys, if there are any topics that are burning on your mind, get them in the chat, and we will try to get to them before we dip on out of here. But Bob queries, at tight end, who comes out atop the depth chart? I love atop. Is it Albert O? Is it Greg Dulcich? By the way, Eric Tomlinson looking like a Viking, dude. Big, massive human being. Big old beard, like he looks pretty gnarly out there. I'm looking forward to seeing him throwing down. But who do you think emerges as Russell Wilson's number one tight end?
To start the season, it's going to be the guy on the left, Alberto. I mean, they've had really good chemistry down, Russell Wilson and Albert, over the course of the offseason program. And he is the veteran with NFL experience under his belt. If he stays healthy, cleans up some of the drop issues he's had, he could be a long-term viable starter. But they did draft Dulcich for a reason. And if Alberto gets hurt or he, is inconsistent, I can see Dulcich taking that mantle from him in the second half of the season.
At the O-line, the big question eaten at Bob Morris is, will the center position be stabilized? And that is important because not only you got Russell Wilson to keep upright and protected, but hey, man, if you want to really see this running game take off like the Shanahan days of old, the zone blocking scheme being back in full effect, that pivot, that center needs to be a man about his business. Now, back in the good old days, the Broncos had a Hall of Famer, in my opinion, caliber anyway, center by the name of Tommy Nalen. And, at least 2 years into his career, Lloyd Cushenberry is so far produced, what he has produced is a far cry from Tommy Nalen. But how big of a concern is this for you? Will the center position be stabilized?
I think I'm the wrong guy to ask because I'm a bigger Cushenberry fan than most others. I think there's something there, and you can build on what he brings to the table as an athletic blocker in his own scheme like the Broncos are running now. He's also consistent, playing at least 99% of snaps or 98% of snaps the last couple seasons. I like Cushenberry. We don't know if it's going to be stabilized, but it should help Cush playing with a real quarterback and an adult at head coach in Nathaniel Hackett. He never had stability of his own. It's a tough position to nail down coming from college, being the QB of the O-line with some proper guidance and some good chemistry with a legitimate franchise quarterback. I think he'll take a leap in year 3.
Marcus says, what I like about Russell is he is so modest about his ability, not strutting about saying, I'm the man, MHH for life. Yeah, he is neutral, right? We talked a lot about that when he first arrived, we had to learn what that really meant, the neutral mindset. And yeah, he's going to be very transparent, Zach, about his lofty ambitions. But in terms of communicating that, he does it through his actions, not through his trap, right? He's not blabbing about it.
Do you know what the worst thing we've heard about Russell Wilson since the trade is? The green screen video, the outtakes of Let's Ride. If that's the worst thing about your starting quarterback, considering the Deshaun Watsons of the world, I am A-okay with that, man. Bring it on.
Especially so soon on the heels of these 6 years of literally wandering the quarterback desert, like Zach talked about at the top of the show. I mean, we've been starving Marvin. All right, we're thirsty. We need to have a real cue, and you got that back. So Douglas, we're about out of time here. Thank you for that super
Thank you.
chat. That's a newer name. So welcome. Thank you. Stick around. Connect with us on Twitter, Douglas, because after each and every stream, we like to tag and shout out our supporters and super chat superstars on Twitter. All right. So connect with us. He says, hello, Broncos country and MHH. Our team injury bugs. Is it just bad luck? Pardon me. Or is it related to bad physical training staff and medical doctors? Also, does that staff change with each new head coach? Thank you, Douglas. You're bringing up some skeletons from the closet that you're going to trigger your football priest here. But let me just answer the question, and the last question here, Zach, and then I'll let you tackle that first thing. But it does change with every new head coach, right? If a head coach comes in, he reserves the prerogative to hire whoever he wants in the coaching positions, including strength and conditioning. It just so happens this time around that Nathaniel Hackett kept the previous strength and conditioning regime from the last, I'll just say the post Luke Richardson era.
Yeah, I mean, luck certainly plays a part, Douglas. And I know this is your newer because of the fact that we rant and rage about Lauren Landau all the time on this podcast. We think it's no coincidence that since he was hired, Broncos injuries, lower body ailments, soft tissue issues have risen rapidly. Tongue twister there. So it's a combination of things. Maybe it was Vic Fangio and not Lauren Landau. Maybe it was Fangio pushing the players too hard in practice or whatever. But something has to change because they are among the most injured the last couple of years, and that's not going to fly this year.
We're going to grab Andrew and then one from Mike S on YouTube, and then we're going to say goodnight. But Andrew says, what player beyond Russell are y'all excited about? Personally, he says, I'm ready for Draymond Jones. Man, there are a lot of guys I'm excited about. A lot of it is more about kind of intrigue to see how it all shakes out. But I'll tell you what I'm excited for. I'm excited to see Courtland Sutton finally catching passes from a true bona fide stud quarterback. I mean, that year he made the Pro Bowl, so 2019. Let me remind everybody, one of the reasons he made the Pro Bowl and why his profile was so high, it wasn't just like he got in as an alternate, like he was named to the Pro Bowl. It was because he produced at the level that he did, north of 1,200 yards and I don't know what it was, 6-7 touchdowns, catching passes from 3 different starting quarterbacks, one of whom was a rookie, another of whom had never started a game in the NFL, and then the last of whom, Zach, was on wounded knee Joe Flacco. So I can't wait to see Courtland Sutton just thrive with Russell Wilson.
Yeah, there's so many candidates. I can't wait to see Patrick Surtain become a Pro Bowler or All-Pro and get the praise he really deserves. I can't wait to see Javonte Williams be a bona fide RB1 and become a household name around the NFL. Draymond, though, that's one of my bigger excitement points for players this coming season because he has Pro Bowl caliber potential as well, and playing alongside DJ Jones now and in front of those linebackers and that defensive backfield, he can be in for a big season.
All right, last one. We're going to say goodnight from Mike S. What happens on YouTube? He says, what happens if it doesn't work out with Judy? Do we trade him? Doubt it. If it doesn't, quote unquote, work out, Mike, he fizzles into the trash bin of history. Like he'll just play out his 4-year rookie deal. I mean, basically, this is it for Judy in terms of, do you want to get that 5th-year option and get a significant pay raise, even as a top 15 pick that he was in the first round? Do you want, I mean, it's almost like being in a contract year, even though he's got another contract, he's got another year next year before, but they have to decide after this season, Zach, whether or not to exercise his 5th year. So if he ends up failing to launch, I think they probably don't trade him because he's not going to have any value. So he comes back and plays out his final season and then hits the bricks.
What's the definition of doesn't work out, though? I mean, like he's becomes a malcontent. He becomes a cancer in the locker room. Then you try to get rid of him by all means possible. But ideally, you know, you use the 15th overall pick on the guy. You haven't seen much, if any, of his ceiling or potential. I would let it play out and be a little more patient with Jerry Jeudy, considering he's basically what? I don't want to say a rookie, but basically a sophomore, considering the amount of inexperience he has and how little he was used in Pat Shurmur's offense. Give him some time, and you can reap the rewards from that.
Guys, as we say good evening, good night for now, want to remind you, join your football priest in taking your male grooming to the next level. Go to manscaped.com, use our code MHH at checkout, and get 20% off plus free shipping. Manscaped.com. And then, guys, one last thing here, okay, before we go, I got to remind you, and for those of you who were here earlier, just know that people cycle in and out sometimes. And so it behooves us when we're trying to get a message across to hit it a couple of different times. Go check out the new designs, all right, at Mile High Huddle merch store. It's easy to find, huddleuppod.com. You go there, you see some of the new designs like this one, all right, with the microphone and the Bronco. You got this one, you got the actual Mile High Huddle podcast logo, and you can choose what colors you want on your t-shirt. Go check that out, huddleuppod.com. It's another great way to support what we do here each and every day, and rep your team colors and the brand here at MHH. Love you.
But guys, that was the Mile High Huddle podcast. We are done for this evening. Back on Thursday evening. Until then, follow us on Twitter at Huddle Up Pod. You can follow the main account on Twitter for all your Broncos news, analysis, and more at Mile High Huddle. Follow Chad on Twitter at Chad and Jensen. Myself at Kelberman NFL. Our producer Scott at Scout Kennedy. Chad just mentioned the merch store, but I'll say it again, huddleuppod.com. New designs, new merchandise. Check it out when you get a second. Also, facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod. Give a like to that page and a follow to that page as well. And guys, if you haven't, please go to Apple Podcasts and leave your football priest a 5-star review for a chance to win some new and improved merch each and every month. But as you see ticking below you, if anything, please do these 3 things: subscribe, like, and share this video and every video you see on the MHH channel. It really does help us grow and reach more Broncos fans just like you.
That it does. Small thing you guys can do to help us out in a big, bad way. Shout out to these great supporters on Facebook tonight, throwing down stars: Gary Leeds Palmer, Phil McLaughlin, Colby C. Collier, George Fox, Lawrence Rivera, Marcus Lewis Hanna, Ben Wallman, Andrew Baker, and Travis Weber. And then also our great Super Chat superstars tonight: Sam Bam throwing down multiples, Gregory Vendeland. Sorry if I butchered your last name, my friend, but seriously, thank you for that generosity. Golden Girl, welcome. It's very nice to meet you here on the internet. 727 Mill, back in the saddle, and Douglas Wall. Much love and respect. Don't forget to catch us tomorrow at 2 p.m., 98.1 FM, Mile High Sports in Denver, or listen live, guys. Go find it, the link on our Twitter accounts at Chad and Jensen or at Kelberman NFL. You can listen live even if you're out of market. But tomorrow as well, guys, Broncos for breakfast here on Mile High Huddle on the Bright. And then tomorrow night, make sure you join Nick and Carl for Building the Broncos.
Take care, guys. And as always, go Broncos.